During this crisis, Spacelabs understands the importance of being able to initiate monitoring quickly on a critical patient. This short video is meant to demonstrate how to do exactly that. All Spacelabs monitors utilize the command module, which is where the patient cables connect. We'll be using a Cube monitor in this video. However, the Cube, Cube Mini, and Expression monitors all have the same user interface with very similar capabilities. The primary difference is screen size. The command module is where the patient cables terminate. There are adapter cables that I'll review that are to be used for each port. Each adapter cable is colored and keyed, making it easy for clinicians to quickly determine which cable goes where. The green connection is for ECG. A 3, 5, or a 10 lead ECG cable can be used, and if connecting a 10 lead cable, a 12 lead diagnostic ECG can be generated. The red ports are for invasive pressure monitoring. You can use a single or a bifurcated cable. With a bifurcated cable, you can monitor 2 invasive pressures from one cable, such as ART, CVP, ICP, etc. Your transducer will connect to your pressure line, and then your pressure line plugs into the Spacelabs adapter cable. The Spacelabs adapter cable then plugs directly into the Spacelabs port. If you need more than 4 pressures, an additional module is also available. This particular module allows for 4 invasive pressures, 2 from each red port. The blue port is for SpO2 monitoring. The Spacelabs adapter cable inserts there, and the appropriate SpO2 sensor connects to the SpO2 adapter cable. There are several types of sensors available from Spacelabs, Masimo, or Nellcor, depending on which technology you use. The pink port is for intermittent thermodilution cardiac output monitoring only. Your Y cardiac output cable would plug into this adapter cable. The tan port is for continuous monitoring of temperature, and just like your invasive pressures, that cable is also bifurcated, allowing you to continuously monitor 2 temperatures simultaneously. There are 2 ports for NIBP. The top port here is for adult. The bottom port here is for neonate. The adult NIBP hose uses a slip lock connection where I would just insert and press firmly, and then my NIBP hose is now hooked up. There's a red button directly below NIBP. This is used to stop a blood pressure during a blood pressure reading if you need to manually stop it. Stop that. The tab on the bottom of the module is used to remove the module from the monitor. If you just press onto the Spacelabs logo and pull, it removes the module from the monitor. If the module isn't inserted into a monitor, active monitoring does not occur. A monitor is necessary for the module to be able to monitor these parameters. Now let's review the monitor itself. This is a Cube monitor which can be mounted onto the wall or to a roll stand, or also used as a portable monitor. This side is obviously where the module is inserted. If we were to turn it to the back, this right here is where the capnopod, which allows for side stream capnography monitoring. This can be inserted here. And this is what you would use if you wanted to provide side stream capnography monitoring for your patients. As you can see, it's very easy to move this module around. All I have to do is touch the gray button at the top to disconnect it, and then I could use it on another patient. This side of the monitor is where a printer would be if your facility chose to purchase one. This particular printer requires roll paper. To change it, you just touch that button, put your roll in, and then close it, making sure that you have a little bit of paper sticking out. Below here is your battery compartment. This monitor utilizes 2 batteries. With 2 batteries, you can get up to 8 hours of battery life if both batteries are fully charged. Okay, I've now plugged my monitor into power and connected it to the network. This button is where you turn the monitor on and off. You press and hold until you see the green light, and you can see it will take several seconds for the monitor to boot up. Lights will flash across the top. These are the alarm lights that will flash different colors for different priorities of alarms as they occur. If you wait a couple seconds, we'll see the buttons that come up on the right side of the monitor that will be responsible for controlling the monitor itself. In this video, we're just going to focus on those buttons that you will use the most when initiating monitors. The second button down is the Tools button. Here, when selected, you'll determine what volume you want your alarms to occur at. So for example, right now you have your high alarm. I've selected the highest priority, the highest audio. So for my high priority alarms, I'll have the highest audio available to me. You can see you also have options for medium alarms, low alarms, remote alarms, alarm watch, and your keys. So each of these options, you will decide how loud you want those alarms to sound. The other tab I wanted to focus on are your numerics. If I touch numerics, this is how your screen will be displayed. If you go to the second one, this allows you to have big numbers, allowing you to see the numerics for the parameters for your patients, even from across the room. The next button, with binoculars, is for remote viewing patients that are connected to another monitor in another room. To have this capability, your monitors have to be networked, either by a hardwire or a wireless connection. Your biomed or IT department would be responsible for configuring this. When I touch the remote view, I have remote view and alarm watch. I can use one or the other at any given time. If I select remote view and turn that on, I'll then see a list of units. I'm going to access my ICU and patient in 308. And when I select that, I can then select any parameter for that patient and begin remotely monitoring that patient. So I'm now looking at the patient in 308, their ECG. Not only can I look at that, I can completely interact with it as if I were at that patient's bedside. So for example, if the patient had been moving around or was irritated and a lead fell off, I could go under lead control and change the lead I'm looking at to get a better lead without ever having to go into the patient's room. Along the same lines of remote view, I have alarm watch. I can select alarm watch, turn that on, and now I could select any patient in the unit. If they had an alarm, their alarm would pop up at the bottom of this monitor, allowing me to remotely watch multiple patients within my unit. On any particular monitor, I could use remote view or alarm watch, not both at the same time. To initiate monitoring, I'm going to do good lead prep on my patient, apply the electrodes, and connect the patient cables. It's not necessary for me to admit a patient for monitoring to begin. You can see my alarm limits are already set for me here to the right of my numerics. If there is a box here instead of numbers, it means that I don't have alarm limits set for that particular parameter. To do anything with a parameter, all you need to do is touch the parameter button. If I touch ECG, I see the alarm limits here. I can select alarm limits, turn my alarms on and off. You can see here now as I turn them off, I have the box. So from across the room, I can see that I don't have alarm limits set for ECG. I'm going to turn those back on, and you can see I now have the alarm limits set for me. If I wanted to change those alarm limits, I just touch the appropriate alarm high, and I can increase that or decrease that as necessary. And you can see my alarm limits change here on the screen just to the right of my numeric. Additionally, under ECG, since respirations are controlled through impedance using the ECG electrodes, I turn respirations on and off through ECG. So if I go to ECG, Setup, and Display Format, this is where my respiration parameter would be turned on or off. So you want to make sure that your respirations are on if you're interested in measuring respirations for your patients, and you would do that under your ECG parameter. Just like ECG, SpO2 works the same way. If I touch SpO2, I have my alarm limits here. In this particular configuration where I'm using big numbers, anything beyond my 2 waveforms will show up as an icon down here at the bottom. So if I wanted to get an NIBP, I could touch NIBP here or NIBP here, and my NIBP parameter would come up. If I want to initiate a blood pressure, all I have to do is touch start. If I want to turn on automatic intervals, I have my auto on off here. I could turn this on. I could set my time interval appropriately, Q15, and then it would automatically get blood pressures for me every 15 minutes, and I'll be able to see them displayed up here on the screen. It's not necessary to admit a patient to initiate monitoring. As soon as your patient is connected to the monitor, monitoring starts. However, once things have slowed down and you now want to go back and admit your patient, you can touch this button right here, the admit patient. If there's no name in here, you know at a glance that your patient hasn't been admitted to this monitor. If you touch that button and select admit, we don't want to clear patient data because our patient's been here for the last hour and we're just getting around to admitting them. I'm going to select no, and I now have an on-screen keyboard that I can admit my patient. As mentioned earlier in the video, if I'm using barcode scanners, I could also use that to admit my patient to the monitor if your facility utilizes that technology. Once I close out of here, my patient will then be admitted if I've done that, and then I'm now collecting all of my patient information.